Hello, welcome to Flory Models. I'm Philip Flory. Review time, particular one, some old favourites, perhaps good, perhaps not. What we've got here is the Airfix 1/72 scale for a change. This is the Harrier, the Sea Harrier. This is the FA2. Basically, the FA2 was an upgrade to the FA1. Bit of a horrible story because unfortunately I think they were cancelled far too soon with lots of hours left on the airframe. Now what we've got here is our standard Airfix box. Now I haven't looked at one of these kits before. Okay, I've seen things on the internet about them. This is the first time of actually looking at the kit and seeing what they're like. Now Airfix get in a lot of trouble, by me especially. I'm the first to criticise them about perhaps the quality of some of their moulds, especially the ones dating back 70s, things like that, which are quite frankly horrible kits that don't go together. And the price they charge and putting them into glitzy boxes really, doesn't warrant the price tag, especially when you can go out and buy other kits from other manufacturers, which we'll be looking at in this series of reviews, that are literally just a few pounds more and the quality is exceptional. So anyway, what do we get in the box? Well, we've got one bag with them all in, which is a pet hate of mine because I find you get what I call sprue rub. By that what it actually means, the sprues rubbing up against each other, they damage each other's parts, and before you know it, you've got sort of big scratches and everything else in there. The only thing that isn't is the actual, which is a nice touch, is the clear parts of separate bag. The bags are thick enough, I think, to stop any damage, but as said, unfortunately, they're not exactly brilliant together. So what have we got? First impressions, it's recessed panel lines, which obviously in this day and age we'd expect, but they are way too big. They are huge. For scale, I should think these must be at least 1.5 inches, if not 2 inches across. That is truly horrible. I don't know how well the cameras can pick this out. We just drop the side cam down in a little bit more. Perhaps you can see, obviously catching it in the light, you've got horrendous big lines in here, and especially when you look at things like I've got down here on the tail, you can actually see very large, it's one of those things that obviously for scale you're going to be a little bit overscale because of it, but in this day and age, especially when you look at some of the Far East manufacturers who can produce a panel line as crisp as you like in any scale, I think it's a sign of the actual sprue itself. When you look at the gates around the outside, like you can see here, it's very big, it's very chunky. The injection moulding is quite softly done. The plastic used is quite heavy, it's quite thick. When you look at other manufacturers, it's a little bit better. I can't see a date actually on the sprue, and I'm not a massive fan of Airfix, especially the old stuff. I'm not sure when this kit came out. I was aware that Extra Kit the Hannon's company did a Harrier. I looked at that many years ago and that was horrible as well. But as I said, nothing really would jump out and bite me about this. Okay, now I know we're in the process of, we're modelers. Okay, it's construction, not assembly. Okay, the way I always say about this, and I'm the first to be a bit of a hypocrite over this, because I want a kit to go together with no massive issues. I want the sides to join up, okay? I want to be able to put the wings in without massive gaps. To me, that is how a modern kit should be. Now, if it's got little problems, perhaps like things are slightly the wrong shape, perhaps the overall dimensions aren't perfect, I don't worry about things like that, because they're things either I can fix myself or accept as being part of the kit. But when they're generally overdone and a bit big like this, you have a couple of options. You can either think, right, okay, I'm going to live with it and we're going to call it's the scale effect and everything else, or you can fill it and rescribe it. It depends on your level. If you're proficient and you want to, sand and fill and rescribe a kit like this, then obviously that's perfectly up to you. It's just that I don't know, it would be nice if a new kit came out that was very nice and very nice fine details and everything else. It just seems a little bit heavy. Anyway, rant over. So there we go, 2 Fuselage halves. We've got the fuel tanks, we've got a couple of AMRAAM missiles here, the nice big nose, which is obviously the major factor between this Harrier and the other one, and obviously we've got the top wing spar on that sprue there. Second one in, we've got little bits and pieces all on here. We've got ejector seat, which is extremely crude. It's a scale thing, but what we have got is we've got the blow-in doors How will Cameron get in here on these guys here? Now these blow-in doors is what sucks air in, gets a lot more in. It's nice that they are actually in the open, and we've got like an insert, which is this little guy down here, which is obviously going to go in and give us the effect of those doors. We've got little compression blade, first stage compression blades onto the engine as well, which is a nice touch. The wheel wells are bays themselves, as you can see here, they're pretty crude. Again, I don't know if there's really necessary to have a massive great ejector pin mark right in the middle of them all, but there we go. The wheels are moulded as in weight on wheels, which is quite a nice touch. So, you know, some things are very nice for the main ones. Unfortunately, the nose wheel isn't. So you've got the main twin bogey gear that in the middle of the fuselage at the rear is, the others aren't. I don't know about the outer ones. Again, we have got flash around, but not actually on the parts. Okay, which is quite a nice touch. Last sprue up, we have, these are the inserts we've got just down here for the tail, as you can see, that's down there, for the tail planes, and then obviously for the main wing spar. Looking around, sidewinders are very nicely detailed. We don't have any problem with those. They look very nice and everything. We do have a crew figure, which I think will probably be, you know, a nice little touch to pop in there. We have two types of wheels, which is quite nice. So we have the weighted wheels, which are these little guys down here. Okay, we've got the flat spots, and we have them unweighted, so if you're doing it in the up position. We've got the nozzles for the Pegasus engine. You know, as I said, you're not going to get mass detail in this scale. They don't look too bad at all. And going through, it is what it is. You know, when you look at something like this, we have a huge ejector pin mark just down on these guys just here. You know, probably not acceptable, but it's one of those things you're going to have to live with. At this scale, there is a problem, okay, and that is the engineering. Obviously, the investment that you'd need to put into engineering to make these very, very fine and everything else is one thing. Can Airfix afford to do that? I don't know. You know, perhaps in a few years' time, they may be able to do that. So let's have a look at the old instructions. So we have Airfix's normal way of doing things. So if we just drag this top camera out just a little bit, we can see we've got the construction down here. We have the decals, we'll look at those in a moment. So they are somewhat glued together, which is different. Okay, so as you can imagine, there's nothing really to this. So you're going to be putting seats together, the intake, cockpit, and then obviously poking those in, and then obviously just working your way through. So we've got the wing spars, engines, you can position them, gear, obviously it's going to be up or down. I don't know what the doors are like, if this is going to be in the up position. I don't know if these are going to fit, okay, but because of the scale, you could easily fill and then literally just fill it all up and then go through it and then just rescribe in the actual door areas themselves. So we've got the missiles. I presume that's the Sea Eagle, Sidewinder, AMRAAM, which is pretty typical for this particular type of aircraft. And then weapons fit going on, a couple of aerials to go in there, and that is it. So really, if you want a nice quick build, that's the way to go. Decal sheet. Some of you know I used to live, or actually I'm still not that far, but I used to live 2 minutes from RNAS Yeovilton, in a little village just outside the airfield. So I used to have Harriers going over my head literally every 2 minutes. Absolutely fantastic. So 800 Squadron, probably one of the most famous, with that nice big red tail on there. Pretty much a standard sort of low vis greys going on to this one. Which, you know, there was some nice showbirds near its end, which got some nice markings out there that the aftermarket guys have already sort of jumped on, so you could do it in those markings. Yeah, what can you say? It's a Harrier. Is it a good one? I'll pass on that one. Decals themselves, you might be able to see down here, we are looking at, it seems to be in register. They are the usual Airfix way of doing it, which means they are dead flat, which I still don't get the idea of. I can understand them trying to give the flat look so decals don't stand out, but it just makes them awful to try and go on. It says this sort of pinky markings on here, you might be able to see that's what they actually are. We've got some cockpit details, some for the Sidewinders, some for the Sea Eagles, which got drill written on them. And everything else you go through. Okay, it's a cheap kit, but I don't think you're going to get excited about it. I don't think it's certainly nothing I would suddenly think, oh, I'm going to go and build a 1/72nd kit. The clear part, I'm not even going to get it out. In this scale and being Airfix, you know it's not going to be brilliant. It'll be practical, but not brilliant. So really, summing up, yeah, It is a 1/72 Harrier. Are there better ones out there? Yes, there are. Okay, cheap, goes together, gives you a Harrier, and it is the Sea Harrier in that performance. And certainly, you know, you can have a look at my other review, which I'm about to do in a moment, for the newer version of this, and it'd be interesting to put them on test together to see exactly how they stack up against their new version of the Harrier. But certainly, if you want a 1/72 Harrier in the FA2 variant like this, it's probably going to be your only option, certainly in the UK, for the foreseeable future. I can't imagine anyone's going to jump out and suddenly do a brand new tooled one, but I wish somebody would prove me wrong and do a nice one. It'd be nice to have a 1/48 new tool, 1/72, and if somebody wants to do a 1/32 one, I'll definitely build it as well. So there we go. Till next time, happy modelling and take care.